Most people never move on from their past, from their pain. They just get really good at avoiding pain and using all kinds of sophisticated ways to do that, that trick us into thinking that we've moved on, it's behind us, and that we've healed, and now we can live our life to the fullest, not understanding that actually it's keeping ourselves stuck. And I know that because I've been there. I've used all of these 3 ways that I will share in this video. And that's why I want to share with you, because it would have really helped me at those times. And this is part 1 of the 4-part series where I will share my 12 lessons that I've learned in the past 10 years, 12 years of coming back to myself, to my inner wholeness, to my inner freedom, and healing from all the past hurdles and traumas that I've been through. So hope this helps, and if you want to watch other videos in the series, you can do so. I will link them below, and let's get to the first one. So the first lesson is about the stages of healing and understanding that there is a place and time for everything. Because from the very beginning, I started with this hero mindset of, okay, I am the creator of my life, and it's all self-responsibility, self-accountability, and I will change this life, and I will not be a victim to my past, and I will just, I would reframe the hell out of my thoughts, and just really with this mentality of, attacking, and this fighter mentality that really kept me going. And that was kind of necessary at the beginning to light up the fire, to do the inner work. But in the longer term, it actually really stopped me from true healing, because it didn't allow me to see the parts of me that were hurting, and to validate my experience, and to actually look at my past and acknowledge what had happened. Because I was just like, oh, it doesn't matter what had happened. This is only here and now, and I don't care. I'm just looking to the future, and really not allowing any slight of self-pity, because I was really afraid to go into self-pity and into looking at my past, because that would mean also seeing where my mom didn't do a good job. And I love my mom, and I see how she sacrificed all of herself. And of course, she didn't do some key aspects that would allow me a safe childhood, but there's still that a lot of people are afraid deep within to look at their past, to acknowledge the horrors, the traumas of their childhood. I mean, everybody had different kind of childhoods, but mine was quite violent, and I just didn't want to go there and to acknowledge that, because it would make my mom be seen in a bad light, and it would also make me pity myself for having such a horrible childhood, and why me, and all these kind of things. But actually, when I did that, that's when the healing could take place. Whereas before, if I just stuff it down, it just keeps bubbling up. Like, whatever you try to stuff it down, it's like a cork, underwater, just keeps coming up. So my lesson was really about letting go of that hero mentality and facing what actually happened and the reality of it. And now, as promised, the practical part, how you could apply this lesson into your life, is first trying to reflect and ask yourself, maybe in journaling, what key moments of your life, what experiences you've been minimizing in the name of staying strong and not dwelling on the past, that are still somehow creeping in your life, to see if there's anything that's been affecting you, and to what it would be to fully feel that and validate that, yes, that was your experience. Doesn't mean anything about who you are now, but to acknowledge what has happened. And the other part is seeing where you don't allow yourself to be weak, to experience the emotions of self-pity or anger towards the other people in your life, that you want to, keep them in a good light. And the other one is writing down moments where you've bypassed emotions, or admitting something in the name of strength, to not feel like a victim, or to not make others seem bad or any other way. So the second lesson in this video is about spiritually bypassing. And I know we can have a lot of concepts out in a spiritual community, but in my own experience, that was a very important lesson that I had to learn the hard way. And that was me using all the spiritual teachings and meditations and all these kind of tools to just again, not acknowledge my past, to move forward like nothing has happened, only, focusing on the love and light, and really bypassing all the hard, shitty, uncomfortable emotions. And I know that's not what true spirituality is, but as someone who is getting into spirituality 15 years ago, and reading all the books and yoga and hearing about how our souls decided, before coming to this earth in this incarnation, all these hardships that we will go through. And then from that kind of perspective, I was like, oh, so yes, my dad was abusive and all these kind of things, but our souls agreed before I entered this earth that this is going to be this way. So I guess it all makes sense that I experienced this, and oh, I'm so grateful that I went through this. And then, meditating and love and light and doing all these heart-centered meditations, but really disconnecting, like, top from bottom, and just being like, oh, all high and stuff like that. So that kept me high for a while, for sure. Even convinced me at some point that, oh, actually, this whole spiritual thing is working, because I was not feeling any anger at all. I was just so happy all the time and smiling, until I wasn't. Happy and then super depressed, and then happy again. And just, I thought, oh, if only I meditated more, if only I did more of this kind of meditation and this kind of yoga and this kind of journaling and this kind of prayer, and just reconnected and just cleansed myself and did all these body cleanses as well, then I would not have those negative emotions. And that got me stuck for quite a while, I have to say. And again, like with the first principle, this was very needed in my journey to keep me alive, because on days when I just didn't want to live anymore, and I thought it would be so amazing if I just didn't wake up tomorrow, it would be so amazing. And what kept me going is the whole spirituality teaching. So same like with the warrior mentality, the spiritual concepts also helped me for a while to keep going. But again, in a long while, it really kept me stuck. So maybe just sharing this video with the hope of that someone who is going through a hard time can see those kind of patterns that they maybe also are applying in their own life, and see, okay, how much of this is useful and how much of it is actually avoiding pain. It's another sophisticated way to avoid pain, avoid facing the reality, and like, oh, so nothing really matters. All the abuse that I've been through maybe didn't affect me. I can shift reality right here, right now, and I can be a different person, and that means that my past has changed. Like, yeah, to some extent, all these spiritual teachings do make sense and can really be helpful, and it's true if you believe in them. But at the same time, really seeing how much of it are you applying to just avoid the pain. So in my own healing journey, it was about, yes, embracing spirituality, but also seeing where it's holding me from actually facing what is my actual feeling towards the people who abused me. Is it love and light, how it should be, or is it actually something different? So that's that true spirituality that is about seeing what is the reality, and not just like, oh, all these concepts means that everything is good and I don't even exist, that kind of stuff. So yeah, coming into the practical part, again, it is questioning your own beliefs around spirituality and where it's helping you and where it's holding you, not allowing you to see the suppressed emotions behind it. And the third video in the series is cognitive bypassing. And it's just as sneaky as the spiritual bypassing. So I've been through some stages of like, okay, let's fight, the victimhood. I'm gonna create my life. Then I went into spirituality, like, oh, this is all love and light and my soul and all these kind of things. And then, okay, doesn't really work. So maybe cognitively, psychologically explaining developmental stages and how everything formed will help me heal. And I just went straight into all the books and how to be happy and how to reframe and how to heal through understanding. And I could cognitively understand and explain why my childhood was like this, why my dad was like this, why my mom and all the generations, formed in this form. And it did help me gain some understanding. But again, for memory reconsolidation to happen, for healing to happen, it has to be in the body. And so by cognitively just understanding everything, it kept me, again, away from feeling, away from healing. And that was another sophisticated way that I kept avoiding pain. And I thought, oh, well, I understand everything so well, but why am I still feeling so awful? Why am I still feeling like a control freak and I have to be tense all the time and I have a raging inner critic? And I mean, I could understand that. Okay, I have the raging inner critic because I'm not feeling worthy, because my family didn't accept me as I was, because my dad wanted an abortion, and so I felt like I always have to keep kind of proving my worth, and I have to achieve, so the productivity, and I have to be best at everything I do. But it didn't change me. So it was understanding, but understanding is not equal change. And now when I work with clients and I use memory reconsolidation, I know it's very important for my clients not to be only in the head to talk about the event, but they need to be in their bodies. And we find safe ways to be in our bodies, maybe to put some measures of seeing themselves from a distance, experiencing the hurtful event, or having the resource, and finding all these ways. So maybe it's good that I didn't do it then, because I would just be overwhelmed. So my body, my mind had this protection mechanism of like, okay, let's just be in our head, not get into the body, so you could understand everything but not feel the pain, but also not get the change either. But now that I know that it's very important to, yes, not just like completely dive into, all the pain and just sit in it for hours. I mean, for some people, I guess it can work, but for others, it can be really re-traumatizing and just put them in depression and not really help them cope with life at all, and just not be helpful either. So with all of these three, you can see that each of these stages were helpful in some part of my journey. It's just about noticing when I am already too much doing the cognitive work and I'm just bypassing with all this cognitive rationalization and the whole logic, that I am not allowing the healing to take place. So that's the practical takeaway for you, is to see, okay, where is your understanding of your experiences, your trauma, your healing, your patterns of behavior, and where is the place for feeling into. So you can see the common thread with all of these is, okay, seeing the protection mechanism of being the warrior, seeing the protection mechanism of being a spiritual seeker and using all these spiritual knowledge to not feel, or using the cognitive logic, psychological explanations why I am a certain way, that also doesn't allow myself to feel my body and to process what is happening. So the next time you notice yourself starting to intellectualize an experience, an emotion that's happening, pause a little bit and ask yourself, how does this feel in my body? What are the sensations? How do I want to react? What does it bring up in me? And yes, there is a time and place for the cognitive explanation and logic to kind of set everything in a coherent narrative, but also without the other aspect, it will just be cognitive bypassing and you will not experience the real change. So that's it for this series, and if you would love my personal support and feedback, feel free to reach out. And if you've enjoyed and found this video helpful, you can share with someone you think would find it helpful as well. Share, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next part of this series.